Welcome back, everyone. For this little video, we're going to talk about the reference pages as a whole. We'll talk about individual kinds of citations in a couple of minutes. So now that we've worked through and you've read in your manual about things like double space, 12-point font, Times New Roman, 1-inch margins all around, right? Here's where the guts of APA is, which is how do you cite your sources and account for what is your voice and what is synthesized information from the sources that you're reading and learning from. Okay, so let's just take a look at the reference page as a whole. Your reference page, you're going to note here, still has the running head and the page number on it, so it is part of that page count. You'll notice that references is at the top. It's not works cited. It's not an annotated bibliography. It's called references in APA. You'll also note the correction of my mistake in the 10-minute crash course, because I'm still in my brain on the previous manual a little bit. References is bolded in the new manual, right? In the 5th edition manual, it was bolded. 6th edition, it wasn't. Now it's bolded again. They got to make things hard. So bolded word references. You'll also notice there are no spaces, extra spaces between references and the start of the first reference. It's just still a clean, double-spaced setup, right? So anytime you see extra added spaces, don't get tempted to like hit return 3 or 4 times. Okay, your reference page as a whole is going to be alphabetically ordered, top to bottom. Okay, and then you'll note that all of your references have a hanging indent. Okay, that hanging indent, as I mentioned in the 10-minute crash course, allows you to create a visual continuity, so it's easy to scroll down and look for a particular author. To create that hanging indent, you're going to go to Format, Paragraph, and then you're going to select hanging indent. In a Google Doc, you'll go Format, Indentation, More Options, and it'll give you an option to select hanging indent. So you can create a hanging indent in both Word and Google Doc without having to hit Tab or Spacebar or manually do anything. Just highlight all your references and hit hanging indent. Often what I'll do is I'll type all of my references in and then hanging indent all of them in one batch at the end, rather than trying to get them all to do that. Some other things to note in the overall sense of the references page, you're going to see, of course, alphabetical listings here, but often the question comes up is, well, what about something like Studio Thinking 2 by Hetland, Winner, Vanema, and Sheridan? Don't their names go alphabetically as well? The answer is no. Right? And there's a really specific reason for that. When a research study has been done with more than one author, the primary researcher or lead author puts their name first. And that choice of who gets to go first and second and third and fourth is often very specific to who was in charge of the project, who was in charge of most of the writing, how big everyone's contributions were, right? So in the longer scientific experimental studies, like in the hard sciences and chemistry and physics and mathematics and those kinds of things, you'll often have a lead researcher who is in charge of 15 or 20 little lab researchers that are learning. Many of them are grad students or college students, undergraduate students that are a part of the process, and they get publication credit. Their name gets to be on it, but it doesn't get to be first just because their last name is Aberforth or Adams, right? You don't get to be the first name on the list and get that lead author position just because you happen to have a great alphabetically aligned last name. Okay, so whatever order you see authors' names in on the cover of a book or the title page of a book, that's the order you want to list multiple authors in on your references page. Now, the other thing that you're going to encounter is this. When you're citing more than one source by the same author. I read Tim Ingold a lot, so I've read multiple books by him, and I use multiple books by him. In that case, you go chronologically, the earliest first to the most recent. So if Tim Ingold had published a book in 2018, that book would go underneath 2011. Okay? As you move on down, you're going to notice that even in books, chapters, and edited books, right? That alphabetation still comes from the author of the chapter you're reading, right? St. Pierre wrote the chapter Practices for the New in the New Empiricisms, the New Materialism, and Post-Qualitative Inquiry. Denzin is the editor, right, of the whole book. We don't put it under D for Denzin because we're citing the writing by St. Pierre, okay? So keep those things in mind as you're kind of generating the order of your list. And if you can't remember your alphabet song, I still review it. I still have to sing my alphabet song when I'm making my references page. Okay, see you next video where we're going to talk about books.